Fantastic. Lovely to see you all. Thank you very much for coming. Victoria, first of all, what an amazing story. How did you discover it?
Well, I knew of the record.
Yes.
I knew of the record Nymphs and Shepherds, which I'd heard as a child, I suppose. It was always part of my consciousness. There was that record of children singing Nymphs and Shepherds. When I was 22 and living in the bedsit in Birmingham, I saw a documentary about a reunion of that father. And something about it was just middle-aged people who come together in 75, so they're sort of in their 50s, and someone on the record talking about when they'd made the record and talking about their lives since. And something had just stayed with me, this idea of that you would have a very exciting day and that perhaps your subsequent life might not be quite so, might not match up to that memory. Though I didn't remember it very well, but over the past few years I've had a list of things to write about. That was, Nymphs and Shepherds was always on my list. In my office I've got a list pinned up and that was one of them. The others, some other people have made actually, so one was about the man who faked his own death in the canoe, that's been done. Anyway. So I just thought something about that recording of that day would be a nice piece. I didn't really think about it much more than that. But then when I was asked to do the thing for the Manchester International Festival, and they said, have you got anything that is to do with Manchester? And I immediately went, well, yeah, Nymphs and Shepherds. And they went, what? I said, yeah, the record, the Free Trade Hall, they had to talk posh, and they hadn't heard of it. Didn't feel with confidence, but I thought, oh well, I should just do it anyway. And then as I started to write it, something about the documentary from all those years ago just stayed with me, and that started to. I thought actually, I do want to write about the choir, I do want to write about the record, but mainly I want to write about the two middle-aged people and how that could be their second chance. If something about, because music is so powerful, something about connecting with a piece of music could just propel Tubby and Enid to take a second chance and sort of plunge back into life. And then halfway through writing, they sent me a copy of the documentary. Well, it's nothing like I remember at all. I'd shot an entirely different documentary in my own head because when I saw it, I was appalled, and they didn't say anything of the things that I remember them saying, except there was just one man who's sitting in front of his lathe and he's eating his sandwich. They've actually interviewed him while he's having his lunch. It's a terrible piece of television, actually. And he said, the man said, "Are you happy?" And he goes, "Ooh, that's a question, isn't it? Who is happy?" And then he said, "What does singing mean to you?" And he goes, "Well, it's an expression of joy, if you can put it like that." And that was the bit that I had remembered all those years from when I was 22 in a benefit scrounger in Birmingham. And I put those words into Enid's mouth, that singing was joyful. That's it.
Wonderful. In terms of the construction, it's beautifully structured, but very hard with the double time frame. Was that a challenge?
Well, on stage it was slightly easier, I suppose. You would have the 1929 bit, then you'd have the 1969 bit, and it was a question of how quickly could you get 200 children on and off stage. So I was constrained by that really, and so when I was making a film of it, I had more of a challenge really, because of course you can be much more fluid. You can go like that quickly, and it was also I wanted to put Tubby and Jimmy together in the same space. So it was more complicated, and we actually did reconfigure it and went along in the edit, and changed the order.
Imelda, wonderful performance. What appealed to you when you were first offered this?
Well, Victoria would send you a script. And I suppose, looking at it going, oh, I don't think I've seen anything like this in Britain. So that was a new bit of territory, and the chance to be able to sing a wee bit, but then to do some, proper acting as well, and that she was quite I like her, she's quite plain, and yet she has all her jazzy moments. It's a fantasy.
Better than Ginger and West Side Story and all that.
Glorious to do that, glorious. So, it was on every level. There was.
And were you and Michael cast at the same time? Because I know you have this great history together. Did you?
History.
Well, wonderful history, yes.
One show together.
But a very successful show.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, and that was wonderful to be able to sort of do that, because we have great shorthand, and I speak for myself, but mutual respect, and so you can
give notes to each other. Does that work? Oh, that's rubbish. Okay, let's start again. Let's start again. And that's sort of healthy, and it's, you know, and there wasn't much time to make it, and you sort of can really. That's very valuable, I think, in a short time to be able to actually just go, that's rubbish, fine, and not take offence, just go, right, we know what we want, we know how good we all hope we are, and we just want to make it better, so that's how we'll do it.
Right. And what about you, Michael? What drew you to this?
I got sick of them begging. I'd do anything with Imelda, absolutely anything. The time we spent doing Sweeney was an extraordinary time for me. I learned more from her than I think from anyone else.
You've forgotten it though, haven't you?
Yes. And as for Vic, I verge on being a stalkery fan of everything she's done.
That's why I'm here.
The court order's working.
I think she's brilliant. And I mean, I really died and went to heaven doing this. Working with these two on something so different, so exciting, so challenging, and it was a joy. You never know as well either if the fabulous atmosphere that we had on the set and the happiness that we had creating it, is it going to translate into, you know, what turns up on the screen? And I really hope that it has, because it was a brilliant time, and it's an amazing, it's such a brave thing as well, you know, because it hasn't been on there like anything before. I've never seen anything like it, so to be allowed to be a part of it was the best thrill for me.
Wonderful. And did you immediately connect with the character of Tubby?
Totally. The only difference, I think, is that he's really comfortable with being overweight. He has no issue. Me, I'm still suffering. Yeah, I did. You know, we all have lost opportunities in our life, and I understand this. I can't imagine my world without music, and the fact that he'd lost music in his life, both literally and metaphorically, was. I just so felt for him. I just thought, what a lovely, lovely man. And to be able to explore that was just great.
And Hilary, when you became involved with the project, what made you think, oh, this will work as a transposition from the stage? I mean, there are challenges in translating anything, aren't there?
There's always challenges, but I've got such confidence in Victoria, and just seeing the script and talking about it, and the opportunity to put it on screen meant that we could let our imaginations run wild, and then, of course, contain them within the schedule. So it was a double act going on, but there was no question really. You hear that music and you just want to put it up there.
And some of the sequences are very complicated. Were they hard to produce then?
No, I think Paul Frift was the producer, and he was very good at organising us all and making sure the sequence, how it was done. And I think it was all down to the planning that was done with Victoria, the rehearsals. We had proper rehearsal time with Nigel and Sammy, the MD, and the choreographer, and Victoria was there at every step of the way. And I think they were a vital part of the process, really. They were the most important thing.
Of course, the thing that's disappeared, unfortunately, with television is a terribly old-fashioned word called rehearsing. And as if it doesn't mean anything, it doesn't matter, you don't need it. Well, you do need it, and I think you need it for everything, particularly this, and thank goodness, you know, we got it. There's no way we could have done it without, and you know, we all mourn the days of they were awful, the BBC rehearsal rooms in acting. But I mean, you rehearsed. You did The Singing Detective, you rehearsed it. And then you did it, like any piece of work you do, whether it's a play or theatre or film. You know, you don't just turn up and go, oh, that's what I'll do that. And it was very valuable for this, and I wish more people would think about putting an extra 2 bob in to allow people to have a bit of time, because we live in a world we want instant things. Just do it now. We want it instant. We want it good. We want it successful. Well, the best things take time, whether it's a very good stew, a show. The best things take time to cook and develop. And I think people underestimate that because we do it. Because we go, oh Christ, oh, come on, let's just do it. You think, well, if they can do it in 3 days, let's do it in 2.
What were the biggest challenges for you in terms of directing? I mean, as I say, some very complex sequences.
Well, I think I lived in a blissful world of ignorance, and I think that really helped. I look at it now and think, blimey. It looks really scary when you look at it, but you know, each day you just did what you had to do. And I think, you know, David Higgs was the DOP. He did major parts of working everything else, and so I never felt that the responsibility was on me for the shooting or the arranging or the choreography or the arranging of the music. And I think, you know, when you direct something, you're really, you know, you're wobbling about the top of a human pyramid of expertise in the circus. And you know, some days I thought I'm not even in the bloody tent. But anyway, I just knew everybody else would do their job, and it was my job to just really, what is this about? Every scene, what is it about? And just tell the story. And that's my main job. You know, I know the story, I know the script, we've cast all the people, we have a fantastic team, we have a fantastic DOP, and the lighting and the sound and everything's there, and I'm just on the top of people's shoulders, and I just see whether the story's working, and that's all I can do.
But also you were very clear about, because you'd written it, because you knew it so well, you were clear about what you wanted, and that is very helpful. No point all of us going, how do we do it? But you thought, well, I might know how to do it, but what I want is this, and we go, well, this is how I think we can find it for you. So you need someone who goes, right, it's got to be this, and rhythm is brilliant, you're brilliant on rhythm and how a line works and that sort of stuff.
And Michael, it was helpful that the director and writer could talk to each other and say, oh yes, this is how we're doing it.
They weren't speaking.
They had a massive falling out.
There's such a fallout. Yeah.
But it does mean you can, on the day, if something's not quite right, there's something like, we had a bit of palaver with the little boy in the gramophone and the gentleman who's giving him the gramophone. It all got very complicated. He's supposed to put it on the pavement and open the lid. You think, that's going to take forever, and you will just cut it out. When you get to the edit, you'll cut it out because it's not interesting. So you say, well, give me a pen, I just cut those lines out. And, you know, you don't have to go and phone anybody. I just decided to do that. So I could slightly slice as I went, which I think probably streamlines the process.
You had some lovely scenes with Jimmy. They say never work with children, but
Oh my God, he was amazing.
yeah.
I mean, those eyes, they're lovely. You can see them up there. They're just, he's so honest, so open. Really funny little boy as well. But such a professional on set, wasn't he? I mean, he was always ready, always prepared.
Always cold.
Always freezing. He was divine. You couldn't help but. I wish I looked like that and behaved like that when I was a kid. He was adorable, and it all translates up there. You see what's going on in his head, and you root for him right at the start. You think, oh, what a gorgeous kid.
Well, how did you find him?
Well, I didn't do the original casting. Ron Stern from Nina Gold saw about 150 little boys, so I only saw probably the last 10 or 15 Robert's top choices.
And what made you think, oh, this is the one?
There was something, I don't know, there was something very ordinary in a lovely way about Harvey, because I felt he was an ordinary boy. He didn't look like a stage schoolboy. He also, it's a very hard song to sing, the song that he sings. It's a very hard top note. And even in his audition, he just really went for it. There was something hugely straightforward about him. And also he had really, really thin legs, which was great.
We're so alike.
He really looked like a child of the 1920s, you know, because a lot of children are just whopping, and he was like a little skinny. He looked good in a vest.
It is something that hasn't been done before. Is it because it's so difficult to achieve a brilliant musical on television?
I can't really say why it hasn't been done before. It's just, I think people do love musicals. So.
For us, I think the big plus was being able to sing live on set, so and at the bus stop. So that's us, that's our voices. We weren't in the studio doing it, and it felt really natural. It didn't feel we had these tiny earpieces in, so we'd get a playback in there and then sing along to it. And it's because, you know, normally if you're in a studio, you hear yourself. You have fallback monitors. You're very, very aware. Here, there's none of that. It's just our voices. We're just singing to each other, and there was never a point where it felt awkward, where it didn't feel like it wasn't the language of the piece. And that is what I think I'm delighted to see it has come across so well. That when we're at the bus stop and we just start singing, it doesn't feel like, oh, this is weird. It just, oh yeah, I get it. This is setting the tone of it. And it was really important that we were able to do it live and do it on the set, because your rhythms change. How you would approach a song, how would you phrase something, changes moment from moment depending on what the other performer is giving. So if we'd gone in, recorded it beforehand, and then had to do it to playback on a set, it would have lost a lot of spontaneity and a lot of the natural feel to it.
And I think as well that you retain your character, and because they don't, even when they do Fred and Ginger, they're still Tubby and Enid. They don't lose. You could have done it that, the voices became something else. We could have put on American voices, but the fact that they just are those people having those fantasies, or in the bus stop, you're not having a fantasy, they're just your thoughts, you're singing. It allows you to stay in the character.
Yes, because some critics have said the recent James Brown movie, where the actor is lip syncing, does lose some sort of spontaneity.
Yeah.
Because you can almost tell that it's not him doing it.
You can't change it. You can't have a thought and suddenly sing in a different way depending on how you've spoken the previous time. And that's the benefit.
It's different if you're doing a number. If you're doing a production number, or you're doing something in a concert, then that's the way you would do it. But if it's actually thought processes or dialogue that's put to music, that it's essential that you have that.
Yes.
That freedom.
You and Imelda both done lots of stage musicals. Why do you think it's so hard to transpose them to television?
I don't know. I really don't know. We kind of fell out of love with them, I suppose, and it's quite difficult. Everyone has gone far more towards naturalism. You look back at the great Hollywood movies, and they suddenly break into song, and you think, we accept it because it's in that Hollywood setting and it sort of works. But to put it into this scenario, I think it does work, and it's a shame that people are not embracing. It's just another language, another way of speaking to an audience.
Do you think maybe it's hard to predict, but it might presage a return for TV musicals?
They're going to do the news. That's what Fiona Bruce, as we speak, is having lessons.
She's quite a good singer, isn't she?
Yeah.
Sorry, Victoria. Do you think it might herald a return of the TV musical?
I don't know. I think it depends on writers, and writers have got to want to do something, and you bring your passion to something, and if there's nobody else wanting to write a musical, it probably won't happen.
Because it's so difficult.
Well, just because I don't know who would do it.
Because it's interesting seeing a television musical.
Well, of course, it's a transposition of a stage play.
Yes, because I suppose
but it's a different entity, isn't it?
Is there another television musical that was Singing Detective?
But you see, they
That was
were
different.
different things.
Different thing.
Blackpool.
Yeah, but then they are lip syncing, aren't they?
They are,
Blackpool
yes,
is
and
different.
Glee, I suppose.
Yeah.
But they don't use original songs, do they? They use pop songs.
Yeah.
So it is a very difficult beast to get right, and congratulations for achieving it. And you've also made a documentary about
I'm
this.
just in the middle of making. In fact, go and finish making.
All right, okay. Well, don't let us stop.
Yeah, we're making a documentary about how the story came about, and also behind the scenes, which is so it's half the making of and half the history of the real choir and the real the real HAYU orchestra and just really how I came. I'm trying to sort of find out within the documentary how I came to write it. Really, how that odd thing that I saw when I was 22 that I didn't even remember turns into something real but is fiction.
Have you learned more about it in the process of making the documentary then?
Not really. I walked around Manchester a lot, so I've learned a lot about Manchester. Probably more than I wanted to know. No, I don't know. You just sort of, the thing is, while you're writing something, the memory part of your brain is not engaged, so it's very difficult to recapture the process of writing. So it was really about memory, because Tubby and Enid's plot is about a memory, and then me remembering the documentary. So it sort of goes back to 1975, to the documentary, to the real reunion, to the real record. It was just sort of different
I'm going to have to make a documentary about you making the
But that's a great point, the potency of memory, because the first scene where Tubby bursts into tears, and that's the the incredible power of a memory.
music.
And that's the power of
evocative,
music.
yes.
Nothing will send you, apart from smell, nothing will take you back to a memory,
Because
to a
it
time in your
bypasses
life.
the intellect and it
Absolutely.
goes straight
It's
to
all
the
about
soul,
emotion.
yes.
And it's hard to write a musical about smell.
Did John Waters do a Smellorama film? Sorry.
I hope so. Perfume the musical.
Yes,
It could-
it was because there was a scene about dog mass. Anyway, I
Yes,
won't go into that. Yeah, sorry. Sorry, I've learned the tone horribly. Yeah. So, has it made you want to do more of this sort of thing?
No, not more of this sort of thing, because I've totally been in this world, and I just, I'll finish at Christmas with the documentary, and then, I never want to do the same thing again. So
No.
I've got ideas for new things.
And you can't say what they are yet.
No, I've not really worked them out yet.
Would anyone in the audience? Yes, Ian.
Ian Wiley, freelance. Firstly, can I say, Victoria, we had more than a lovely time watching that. Congratulations, all involved. Wonderful film. Can I just ask about the challenges and joys of recreating, in particular, the 1969 period, and also if you could talk a little bit more about the performances you've got from your two lead actors.
Well, there's no huge. The main challenge in recreating any period is the cost of doing it. Really, is the cost of. It's much cheaper to do something set in the modern day, because as soon as you have any other period than this, you're talking about buildings, telephones, light switches, cars, shoes, hair, everything. So your budget is suddenly massively compromised. And so the real challenge was we had about 200 children in our choir, all of whom had sub-20s costumes. There was a production of That Day We Sang going on in Manchester at the same time, and they had all the costumes. They had a children's choir, so we were snatching them off the warm bodies of children, putting them in a van and taking them to our children. So there's always that. Where can we get the costumes from, and can we make costumes look like real clothes and not just everything that we've got from Angels? But the performances, well, I couldn't believe my luck really, that I got Michael Ball and Imelda Staunton, because I was not joking. When I first was doing it on the stage, and we used to sit around and we go, she wouldn't do it. Michael Ball, he wouldn't do it. And we couldn't afford them. And then to have them, and I mean Imelda, we did the whole thing in about 4 weeks, and Imelda only could give us 3 weeks of her time, because she was slicing us in between that very brilliant performance in Pride and then a wonderful performance in the play in Hampstead and then doing Gypsy. So I don't know if she remembers being in. So we could, it would only have worked for us schedule-wise if we didn't have. Imelda has a most professional attitude, and I've worked with some very wonderful people. She's very at the top of my tree. Her wonderful professional attitude, real speed of learning, real accuracy, and that's what you have to have. Never mind the talent, you take the talent for granted, but what you also need is that great work ethic to get it all done in a day. And the scene where she goes to Tubby's house and she's got the big speech and the chip pans on fire, it's a bit like the top of Casualty, I know. That's a whole page of dialogue, which we probably did about 5 times with no mistakes right the way through, and that's what I treasure. It's not just Imelda's great, fantastic voice, energy, also brilliant comic timing, very good at running up and down stairs in court shoes, fantastic work ethic. And Mr. Michael Ball, some people were a little bit dubious about the fact that he was being cast in a straight role, people who'd seen him and loved him on the West End stage for many years and seen his concerts. And they're saying, will he be able to bring it down? Will we believe him as a Manchester insurance man? And I said, absolutely. I have no doubts. I just said, we just keep his dimples, under wraps. And then when he's up the ladder, he'll release them into the wild.
John.
Hi. This is again about period detail. I think because obviously you want it to be right, and you must always be thinking, well, did they have oil in the bag in 1969? But isn't that like a kind of added pressure for you to have to think about that as well?
I don't have to think about that, because you have a designer, you have a costume designer, you have somebody doing the props. Of course, I would cast my eye over it, but you trust people to do their job, and we just had a really pernickety, brilliant designer, Tom Burton, and I knew. That he would check whether, what sort of oil in the bag would it be? 1969, what sort of Blueband margarine was it? What did the packet of Rivita look like? He was totally across it, and I would just look at it.
But I would also the Burnian thing. How fond of you are of the
Not
Burnian
in
thing?
any way. Some of the most hideous meals of my life have been the Birmingham with my parents in Bolton.
Is this revenge then?
It's not really, it's just this idea that was, you know, that was the poshest restaurant I'd ever been in. It was all fake panelling and little pink shaded lamps, and I just wanted to, I can't remember why, I wanted to set a number in the Birmingham, just made me laugh.
Richard.
Victoria, just to get the chronology right, did you go and see Imelda and Michael in Sweeney Todd and then think, oh, there might be an Enid?
Oh no, I thought that before. I thought it before they'd done Sweeney Todd. I'd already thought of them, but I just thought they were out of my league. We couldn't, you know, we were going to do 10 performances in a festival, and Imelda's very, you know, particular about what she does, and I sort of had this feeling that perhaps she wouldn't want to come and do it. I don't know why I didn't ask you. I should have just asked you. No, I didn't. I self-deprecated myself out of it.
But did you then go and see them in
Yeah,
Sweeney
so
Todd?
anyway, I'm a huge fan of both of them. I'd worked with Imelda before. She was had a little tiny part in a Pride and Prejudice spoof we did, and we'd also done a cabaret together in Kenya and a couple of charity things. So you know, I always knew Imelda was great, and I just took a punt on Michael.
Worked both ways.
Yes, did you have a question?
Yes, I did. I wanted to ask Imelda and Michael about the period costumes. I mean, was it weird? Did it feel like you were a kid again? Do you remember your parents?
I'm a lot younger than both of them. Yeah, I look like my dad. I look like a fatter version of my dad. He came onto the set, didn't he? And those suits, everything. It's exactly what he wore, and it does. It takes you right back. And what was great is that the design team dressing the set and everything. And we did it mostly on location in houses that still looked like they hadn't had a lick of paint since 1969, and you felt like you were there. It just slotted in. It just felt right.
People would come on the set and go, oh, "We had one of those."
Yeah, it was all like yesterday.
Did Imelda? Did you ever have one of those hair things with a tube and the?
My mother was a hairdresser,
Oh.
so I'll answer any of your questions about hair dryers, appliances, lacquer as we used to call it, not hairspray, it's called lacquer. Yeah, absolutely I had that, yeah. That's not a strange place for me, that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Victoria, were you not tempted to pop yourself a cameo in there? Did you not want to get joined
I
in
was
with the dance?
not in any way tempted to be in it. My big delight in editing this was the thing that I wasn't in it. I had to look at my big stupid face. My depressing tab of editing the documentary where I am in it, and I have to look away when I come onto the screen. So no, I didn't want to be in it. I was very happy not to be in it.
David, yes.
A question for all of you. Of course, we've got a school choir at the centre of this. I wonder if you've got any memories of being in school choirs and what that was like.
I loved being in the choir. Well, mainly because it gave us access to the boys' school across the road. But I remember singing the Hallelujah chorus, you know, age 14, and just thinking it was the best sound, the best feeling. Because I did, shows at school, but being in a choir was very different and very, very fulfilling. I loved that. Yeah.
I like getting the solos. I was not. They always used to have a go at me in the choir because I would sing too loud, and not sing in the right phrase. So they would give me a hard time. I wasn't. Yeah, but being Wenglish, and I'm half Welsh. So my association with choirs is all about the male voice choirs. So I'd go down to Wales and listen to my Uncle Tom singing with Mansion Ash Rugby Football male voice choir, and that you compare that to a school choir, it's not the same. You know, that was bang you against the wall, amazing sounds. So
Were you in the school choir?
No, I was in a very, very boring school, and it wasn't very much music, so I didn't get my love of music didn't come anything to do with school. The 7 most boring years of my life. But I love choirs, and my daughter was a choral scholar when she was at Cambridge, so I listened to a lot of much more choral music since she'd been singing it, and I adore the sound of voices. Also, I love singing myself. I absolutely love to sing. I don't do it very much, but you know, because it's such a physical thing and it connects you with other people, and you know, singing alongside other people is a great thing to do.
Yeah.
It was lovely being able to hear when we were filming in the Free Trade Hall and listen to the choir, being in there live and listening to the orchestra do it. It was just magnificent. The hall itself has a lovely acoustic, and it created the atmosphere beautifully.
And that was the Halle Orchestra.
Yeah.
That was the Halle Orchestra.
All dressed up.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
In the tank tops.
And when they're tank tops, all the steps.
I wanted to ask about Daniel Wrigley's character. It's a lovely performance by him.
Did you suss out the commissionaire in the front of the building?
Yes.
You did.
Yes.
Did everyone?
When he started quoting the Bible. Yeah.
No, I mean.
You're not supposed to know before then.
No, it's a lovely reveal.
Yeah, I mean, not at the beginning.
No,
you
no,
didn't
no.
suss
No,
out at the
no.
beginning.
Is he based on a real character?
He's not actually, but when Michael and I went on Wogan a few weeks ago to talk about the song, to talk about the record, and somebody phoned in and said that their grandfather had helped with the choir and helped with the pronunciation and been given a gold watch. So he's not at all based on a real person, but there were people in that choir who took that role.
I mean, a very nice detail that he'd been in the war and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Why did you bring that in?
I'm not sure really, I can't remember, but I know once only Dan was playing it and I started to write the script for the film, that part got a lot bigger, and then I started to develop the relationship between Jimmy and Mr. Kirby with his leg. I don't know, because I really like Dan as an actor. I just wanted to make that part bigger, and I find it very touching.
Absolutely, yes. Yes.
Hi, Maureen Payton, freelance. I'm so glad you caught the excitement of yogurts in 1960. But I just thought it terrific, especially the baddies who, you know, that kind of the skewering those pretentious people who were. And I'd love to see you do more TV plays like that. To give Alan Ayckbourn, of course, a great run for his money. I mean, I just think it's terrific for you to do more and more like that. Is that something you'd like to do? Stage and TV.
I don't know. I'm just going instinct really. Whatever seems to be the next idea that comes to the front of my head. Really. I'll just do that. I never know really what it's going to be till I do it. But it always has to just be something that really excites me.
Yes.
I just wanted to pick up on something Imelda said earlier. You talked about how you're really grateful to have time to rehearse properly for this, and that's something that's missing in sort of elsewhere nowadays. I wanted to sort of see, Michael, if you felt that as well, that rehearsals were lacking maybe in sort of other aspects
I've
of
done bugger all on
production.
Even as when you do a show, you do 5-6 weeks in a rehearsal room before you get onto a stage, before you get into costume. So you're really prepared. The little I have done in drama before this, it's literally you're sent the sides, you learn it, and you then turn up onto the set, and you'll do it, block it, and then you have to go it. So any preparation that you have is entirely on your own. You're not even working with the other actors, and it doesn't produce the best work. The best work is when actors are able to sit with the director, to actually sit and what are we trying to say? What ideas have we got? And so you can have 5 ideas, 4 of which you're going to discard, and then you'll agree on the one way that you're going to do something.
But in a way also, I mean, it's actually probably a question for Hilary. I mean, you're a producer who then has to deal with networks who give you the money, or don't give you the money, or don't give you the time. You know, how difficult it is for you to do your job.
Well, I think rehearsals are worth their weight in gold, and I would always, if you can get the cast in time and you have the scripts, it's completely bonkers not to rehearse, because you think of the cost of Victoria, Imelda and Michael and perhaps a pianist, choreographer in a room, and you think of a cost of 50 people on a film set when it might be about to rain, and the whole crew and everyone else is waiting while there's an intense discussion about is this the right Marmite shape or the right Ravita or something, which you do have because they're important things, but if you can have thought things through like that in advance, it's good for everybody. It's the same in Chris Ashworth, who did the sound, that for him to be able to come in and out of rehearsals, for David, the DOP, they can then see what they're going to be faced with on the day, and they can plan. It's really vital, I think.
Do the three of you think then that TV nowadays suffers because of lack of rehearsal, and if so, who do you think is always to blame for that?
Oh, it's
Oh, I'll take the blame.
it suffers, it doesn't suffer. There's a lot of good television on demand. I'm not saying, oh, look at television, isn't it terrible?
No.
That means no one is rehearsing. It's not as simple as that, because some projects won't need much and some will need more. So you have to take everything on its own merit. But no one wants to rehearse to waste time. It's all,
Today's
it saves time. I think that's what the head boy and girl need to know, whoever they might be.
Yes.
First off, I just have to say it was glorious, absolutely glorious. And then after having sat and watched it this morning, I'd like to ask all of you, which was your favourite moment or your favourite scene and why?
Well, I did love being going from my kitchen. We had a lot of discussion about that door, about doorknobs from the kitchen, going onto the rooftop to do the West Side Story. That was a lovely moment. But I mean, that was all heads scratching. Right, if I shut the door then on that beat, then when I turned the camera
this dress on, and then when I close the door, I've got this dress on.
So we had a good, I liked it.
I think for me the whole Fred and Ginger sequence, we were blue with cold. Hill Square, literally blue. Poor old Imelda.
No, I wasn't mean that. I was so still. Victoria came up to me, can you move your mouth at all? I said, I am. You're not. Oh, sorry, I'm seeking, aren't I? I don't know what you're
So, but to go from that and to then find ourselves zhuzhed, I mean, she looked amazing as Ginger Roy, absolutely amazing. So to be able to take that sort of difficult scenario when doing the number, and then be doing this glorious number with all the dancers around us in the warm was fabulous. I loved it. There isn't a scene I didn't enjoy doing. The ladder.
Was that scary?
Yeah, because it wasn't like a nice modern ladder. It was a proper old period ladder where people died. I wouldn't have one.
Oh.
I had one for a bit. They said health and
He
safety.
had to have one at a certain point. It was just a line cut through the window, but he climbs up and down the ladder all by himself.
Yeah, all on my own.
He had to have Ian Lavender at the bottom with his good foot on
Yeah.
the bottom. He was only allowed to climb up the ladder if Ian Lavender was there. And at one point, Ian Lavender got there a bit early, and his nose was right up Michael's bottom. So changed that.
But the stunt coordinator, or whatever, and they were giving me a read because I said, look, I can't have a harness because you're not letting it.
Yeah.
I have to go up and down. I have to sing.
He has got that
And
freedom.
I've got to be able to do that. And then, well, you'll have to sign a disclaimer. And yeah.
Do you have?
But I do my own stunts. I'm like
Yeah.
Tom Cruise.
In so many ways.
Did you see Mission Impossible 3? He tried the same thing. Yeah.
His singing is very good. Sorry, do you have a favourite scene?
I don't know. I do have lots of favourite bits that make me laugh, that really make people laugh. I really like the bit where Tubby gets hold of Mr. Stanley and just shoves him, and there's all that mayhem. But I think probably because one of my favourite bits was, and the thing I wasn't most scared about was writing the underscore, writing the bits of music that go in between, that go under the action. I was a bit nervous about that because I'd never really done that before to that extent. And so when I watch it now, I think absolutely the music comes in there, and that's really like what the music and the action goes together. So there's a special sort of fight music, and then when he starts, puts his cactus down, threatens him and gets penciled out. And my favourite is the way he picks up the ladder. Well, partly like where he talks to the commissioner, and you realise the commissioner's Mr. Kirby with the one leg. I really like that bit with little Tubby's face when he realises, and then Imelda's face when she realises. So I really like that. And when he just gets up that ladder, you think, what a horrible ladder that is. It's a horrible ladder. And when he's walking up and it's all bent. I love that.
Just think about the whole thing actually, thinking why I think it's so glorious is that there's ordinary people being extraordinary, and I think that speaks to all of us. All of us ordinary people going, I wish I could be Ginger Rogers. I wish, well, of course we can't, but in our minds we can. And I think it speaks and feeds our own desires, and I think that's always very healthy, actually, to give you a little bit of what you might could have been or would have been or would like to be. None of us can be all those things, but you can dream about it, and it's letting your dreams literally come true, which is rather beautiful.
Is that one reason why it's very appropriate to be shown at Christmas, because it is an uplifting message?
We're showing it every Christmas.
Getting rid of the Queen. And the Queen's actually never to sing her message.
Up a ladder. Sorry, sorry, Michael.
Yeah, well, it does. It is. If you traditionally,
It's got snow and children.
it's got snow and children. What do you want? Yeah. Well, it's kind of. It is a sort of a lovely, heartwarming.
It's supposed to be a treat. I want it to be a treat. That really
It'll work at Easter.
Ian.
Question for Michael. I know you're busy enough as it is, but has this given you a taste to do more television drama?
You've no idea. I had as I say, the best time. I realise how spoilt I've been, you know, to have producers and directors and co-stars who are just amazing, and it isn't always like that. But I loved learning about the new challenge of it and working out how to perform with a camera as opposed to an audience, and the finessing all of that thing. Absolutely is the answer. So send your scripts in.
You won't get very good ones from journalists, I'm afraid.
Oh!
I've written a few terrible ones in my time.
It's got dreams in it.
Did you not watch the film?
Any other questions? Yes, David.
Victoria, we sort of fondly remember your Christmas specials. Would you ever do another one?
Oh yeah, I would. I love Christmas specials. I love doing them. So yeah, I definitely would.
Next year?
Yes.
Another question for Imelda. Would you say this is one of your favourite projects that you've worked on?
Yeah.
Daft question.
Why wouldn't it? Of course. Yeah, I get to do everything. It's lovely. Lifted up by coins and everything. Oh, spread my own. I did all my own right.
You did all of them.
Health and safety allowed that.
Yeah.
There's not many people that can butter a rabbit while singing.
Brilliant. Well, I'd just like to say a massive thank you to Hilary, to Michael, to Imelda and Victoria. Lovely film and great discussion.
Thank you very much.